Making the switch. Should you change boot brands? Hi, I'm Patti Larkin from Skate Talk with Patti in US Figure Skating Magazine. And as a skate fitter, I see many skaters, and sometimes they want to switch boot brands. And I ask them, what is the reason? Now, sometimes they have a very good reason why they want to switch brands, and sometimes they just want to try something new. So in this article and video, we're going to cover some of the reasons when a skater should perhaps consider a new brand, or maybe an adjustment, or maybe a brand in the same model may just do the trick. So the first thing I ask them is, what's really bothering you? We want to be very clear on why you want to make the switch. So if a skater just needs an adjustment, such as a growth adjustment for growing, or maybe they just need the boots to be accommodated for the bones of the ankle or the foot, well, that's not really a reason to switch boot companies, because every boot needs some type of fitting and modification. So we really want to address it, and we can always adjust an existing boot. Lots of times there's really no need to switch. However, if there is a time where the foot and the boot just really don't meld together, and that skater is struggling with their equipment that cannot be fixed with a minor adjustment, maybe that boot fit wasn't correct for that skater or that boot model. So we really want to check the size and the width, and it just doesn't work for that skater. The foot needs to feel comfortable in their skate, because the skate is a connection to them. It's that interaction between the skater and the ice. So they really want to feel very connected. So if the boot model that they're wearing right now isn't really working, consider a different model, because models in the same brand fit quite differently when they change the stiffnesses and they change the padding and they change the materials. Sometimes that may just do the trick. And if that doesn't, try a different brand and see if the foot feels comfortable and responds better to a different brand. Another big reason is when I see skaters who purchase their skates online. Most of the time, skaters will buy the skates just too big, and then they'll want a professional fitting, and they want to try something different. Well, no matter what boot model or brand you purchase, if you buy it incorrectly and it wasn't professionally fit, they're never going to feel right anyway. So there's really no reason to change brands whatsoever. Just by getting a skate fitting will get you the right brand. Now, if the brand you bought online doesn't really fit your foot structure, or it's just too narrow, then find a brand that works for you, or that skater. But just switching because the boot didn't work, wasn't successful when you purchased it without a fitting, isn't really a great reason to switch brands. Another reason, and this could be national or international, is having a limited access to a brand. So if you move, or the pro shop moves, or the model is no longer available, you may need to change boot models, or you may have to change brands altogether. Let's say you move from one state to the next, and that pro shop doesn't carry the brand you're used to. Well, try on a brand that's similar. You can ask them, you wore brand A, you liked brand A, and you want to try on something similar to that. Or you didn't like brand A and you want to try something different. But sometimes limited access to brands makes it difficult, and you may have to switch boot brands based on what's available in your area. And this one is probably the biggest one. And this is recommendation by others, where you see skaters wearing a particular brand or a model, or you see a lot of skaters at your rink wearing it, whatever brand or model that is, and you get recommendations, or you get recommendations online. We see this quite often. And you can take this under advisement, but this is just that. Think of it as glasses, eyeglasses. Everyone has a different prescription, and you may like someone's eyeglasses in their frames, but the prescription is quite different from each other. Think of the foot and the boot as that. So you may get a great recommendation and something that works for a skater, and that's fantastic. And they're quick to tell you that it's great equipment. And then on the other hand of that, maybe a boot didn't work for somebody else. Well, that's on the same advice. You may say, well, maybe that'll still work for me. So just take it just as that, as a recommendation, but you're the one who's going to make that decision. You have to feel connected. It's the fit and the function that makes best, and people's feet come in all shapes and sizes. So your foot is quite different than anyone else's, whether it is a positive or negative recommendation. And the last one is what I coin or term boot intolerance. This isn't as common, and I will see this in skaters who've been wearing skates for a very long time. And if they've been in the same model and make and size for many years, sometimes the pressure from that boot puts a lot of pressure on the tissues or certain parts of the foot, and they wind up having reoccurring pain or discomfort no matter what the boot adjustments make. It kind of ties back into the first slide we talked about, but this is really where you're wearing the same equipment for many years. And I've done this not a lot, but I've done it enough where we just need to reposition the foot into a different model or even a different brand, just to kind of put different pressure on the foot. So if you're a skater that trains a lot, or you're in a skate for a long time and you can't seem to solve the problem where the skates before were successful, it doesn't necessarily mean that that boot that you're wearing is defective. You just may build up an intolerance for it, and you may need to just shift the model or shift the brand so that your foot is able to take different pressure, and allowing that tissue has been loaded for so long to rest and recover. And lastly, as I've always talked about, it's fit. Fit matters. It wins at all cases. So it goes back to, if something fits and feels comfortable and works for the skater, that's a really good indication to continue. But if the foot changes and that brand no longer works, it's not comfortable, consider doing a change. But keep in mind that when we make a change, no matter what boot brand, there's also issues that may come with that could be a problem. So we want to make sure we address the issues and we don't create new issues by just switching brands without being intentional about it. Now, one of the things I didn't cover in this article or this video is when boots break down too soon. That is a very important discussion. So I'm going to leave that slide or that article for the next time we meet, because I think that is deserving of its own discussion. And that is another reason why people want to switch brands. But let's talk about that in more detail. And I'd like to create some insight and some observations that I've seen as a professional boot fitter that may help you determine whether the boot is breaking down too soon. Thank you.